Hello, everybody, and guess what? We are back. It is the NPCs weekly news live stream for the week of June 4th, 2021. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about, yep, that's right, the supposed release of the Switch Pro this week that, well, I don't see it around here yet, so obviously it hasn't shown up. We've also got some news about the next entry in the Horizon series, and of course its focus on potentially being on the PlayStation 4. And we're also going to be talking about AMD's new Fidelity FX Super Resolution feature that looks like it might actually help out some things on its rival side as well, too. Again, it is June 4th, 2021. We're going to roll that intro, get things started. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another NPCs Weekly News Roundup for the week of November 20th, 2020. It is Friday. It is, where's my date? It's September 18th, 2020. Here's our first story, and this is actually breaking news for all of us right now here, too. Figured this is kind of a big one to cover, of course, with who it is. Joined via Discord by Kyle because we're in the midst of a pandemic still, and, of course, everything is all kinds of crazy. So this thing is a chonker. I mean...
yeah, it's a beast.
It's huge. Doing that we had the Resident Evil stuff, that they were successful with Castlevania. Welcome to another NPC's weekly news roundup. And it's the news time. I am joined, of course, by Kyle via Discord. Kyle, hello.
What's up?
Man. And that is right, everybody. It is the news time. Of course, I changed my perspective here on the camera for this week because I am in the process of demoing some things behind my desk over here, and I'd much rather that nobody pay attention to any of that because it's a disaster. Isn't that right, Kyle?
Yes, that is very true.
Yes, it is absolutely
Giant hole in the wall.
That's basically
but my camera's perspective's a little bit different too. I was gonna adjust it, but it's just whatever.
It is just whatever. That's all right, dude. But we've got a smaller list here this week, of course, because coming up here in the next few weeks is going to be a lot of things to talk about, especially with E3 just on the horizon. And, of course, possibly some things coming up here with Battlefield very soon, too. But in the meantime, we're going to jump right into the very first story of the week, and it is our title story of the week here, too. And, of course, a lot of you were probably looking forward to this. I know I was, but we have yet to see anything. From Tech Radar, more signs point to a Nintendo Switch Pro announcement this week. A Nintendo Switch Pro announcement is tipped for June 3rd. And last I checked, it is June 4th. We'll come back to that update at the top here in a second. Nintendo Switch Pro pre-orders could go live on June 4th, a day after the new console will reportedly be revealed on June 3rd. According to a tweet from prominent Pokemon leaker Central Leaks, pre-order listings for the Nintendo Switch Pro will go live around midnight on June 4th, though it's unclear as to which time zone this applies to. A date of June 30th has also been suggested, but Central Leaks believe that this was likely a placeholder. The Twitter account claims they have received a verified screenshot from a big retailer's internal system, and though it's hard to verify the validity of this claim, it's yet another rumor that points to an imminent announcement of a new Nintendo Switch. Nintendo's widely expected mid-gen refresh of the Nintendo Switch still hasn't been officially announced, but recent reports suggest that the console will be revealed before E3. It could be in your hands sooner than you think, too, with a September 2021 release date suggested. We've talked about the specs, I think, a lot here, Kyle, but you think it's worth it to go back over it again?
I mean, we can just brush over it briefly. 7-inch 720p OLED screen on the console itself with 4K resolution, excuse me, when hooked to the TV in the docked mode. I mean, that's like the biggest thing.
Right.
Really and truly. So.
Yeah. 7-inch, the 7-inch 720p screen up to the 4K resolution in the new dock. Apparently, the 7-inch screen is actually supposed to take up the majority of the space on the actual front of the Switch itself, so a lot of that bezel is going to go away. The 4K resolution is supposed to be handled by NVIDIA DLSS technology, which handles upscaling that to 4K resolution. The dock itself, we talked about this in the Open Critic podcast as well, was new USB 3.0 ports. It's supposed to be larger, and it's supposed to have a built-in Ethernet adapter. And the actual kickstand has also been updated too, surprisingly. I mean, that's...
Oh, yeah, that was another one that caught me off guard, but it's a real nice addition if it's going to be what supposedly is in the works.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the what is it? all the way across the back, similar to a Windows based Surface. So
Yeah, exactly. It's going to have that same type of look at the Surface, and I don't think the kickstand is really that bad. I wasn't as mobile with the Switch though, like in the sense that I'd actually put it down on a tabletop and play with a Switch Pro controller or the Joy-Cons detached. I was definitely more of I would always have it in my hands or it was in the dock. That was it.
mhm.
I mean, I don't know about you. Did you pop yours out of the kickstand enough
I think
or
I've
onto
only
this
popped my
kickstand?
kickstand probably like 4 or 5 times, and that was to see it happen,
Hmm.
and to put memory cards in.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's right. I
Yeah,
forgot it that
just swap memory cards.
I forgot that existed there underneath the under the kickstand. That's right.
Yeah,
Uh, but so far the actual price is um, there's been no real price revealed. There's a lot of rumors and guesses going around, but a lot of people are thinking because of the new hardware, they're talking like maybe 399 potentially,
that's what I had heard.
or maybe Nintendo found a way to keep costs down and maybe we'll see it for the same price.
Maybe. I think 399 would be a little bit of a stretch for them,
Hmm.
but I don't know. We'll have to see, I guess. I mean, their last big announcement was the Kiwi character from what was it, Zelda Skyward Sword, just yesterday, I believe. So
Hmm. Yeah,
that
because
was
a
kind
lot.
of interesting.
Yeah, which makes me because did Skyward Sword HD even drop yet?
Not yet, no.
I wonder if maybe like that would be kind of crazy if that's the way they're actually handling the tease is that they're they're going to be they're going to be releasing Skyward Sword HD and giving it that good quality bump by putting it on the Switch Pro. Who knows? Maybe that's just their tactic, but Nintendo's been really good at like shadow announcements too. Like just like here you go, here's this new big thing we're working on and no big fanfare or anything at least leading up to it.
I don't think they'd necessarily do that with a console, but I could see them. I mean, we'll get a little bit more into it later with the whole E3 thing, but
Mhm.
um, they do have a long Treehouse Live that's bringing up the tail end, and
They
there's
do.
going to be announcements in the Treehouse Live.
Mhm.
So I don't know. We could see it could be just a surprise thing because they said the 40 minutes is going to
Mhm.
focus on software. So
Yeah, and whether or not that 3 hours or so is going to also include anything on the hardware though too. I mean, if there is hardware announcement, I mean, we could still go another
right.
month or 2 or 6 or 12 or however long without actually seeing a Switch Pro. It could not exist. It could just be still vaporware right now, but who knows? So,
Yeah, I don't know. I think if they're gonna launch it this year, they're gonna do it before the holiday season. Like more before like than when the Xbox and the PlayStation launched.
that's true.
I think you'd be looking at like June, August. Otherwise they'll wait till the end of the or the beginning of the fiscal year in what is it, March or April?
Yeah, there's also that. And then Nintendo has a habit of I think most announcements from them usually are like on Tuesdays more than anything. I mean, I know
Yeah.
March has always been a big month for them, but it always seems like it always feels like in my head it's always been like Tuesdays. We always see big announcements from them. So who knows? Maybe this coming Tuesday could be it instead because of all the leak stuff and that they decided just to push things out. But I mean, everybody's hyped for it. Everybody wants to see it. Everybody wants to start buying it. It's just how bad is it going to get hit by everything else happening with the shortages and the scalping too?
Right.
But at least in the long run, you can't mine Bitcoin on it. So good for it.
But you can on a Game Boy. So who
That's
knows?
also
Maybe
that's
it's
true.
possible.
That's true, and that's a possibility I don't want to think about. In the meantime,
Right?
just like the article, like I was saying, we skipped on there anyway. Of course, we were supposed to hear an announcement about the Switch Pro yesterday, and of course, today's June 4th. We have not heard or seen anything yet. There are a lot of people out there that are just scraping and clamoring for information, and as of right now, there has been what's been purported to be a image of the Switch Pro actually floating around. I was looking at this earlier, Kyle, but it turns out that it's actually just a fan render, is all, because the biggest thing on it is that it does focus on that key thing about the larger screen and a completely different style of dock.
Mhm.
But the one thing in it though is the Joy Cons themselves, while they look like something that Nintendo would release, is that instead of the back of them being the flat bumps or being the flat backs on them, it would be curved, so that would be more like holding a regular controller in your hands, so more ergonomic. But it turns out to actually have been just a fan render to say this is what I think the Switch Pro will look like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so in case you come across it later, or anybody else that's watching us right now, that's what's happening.
I've seen so many wild different renderings. Like I've seen ones that they think that the Joy-Con joysticks will be replaced with the analog nubs from the new Nintendo 3DS.
No, please God, no. Please God, that would be awful.
Not the nubs, but the like slidey joystick thingies that they have.
No,
Yeah,
no, I don't want that. Nobody wants that.
yeah,
No,
you'd get two of those instead.
no. Stop it, Kyle. Stop talking about it because it'll probably happen. Stop it.
Yeah, I don't want to imagine.
Well, it's already stuck in my head, asshole.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So that's all we got on the Switch Pro stuff for now, though. Did you see our thumbnail there, though, Kyle, for today's
Oh,
episode?
yeah.
Did you see that? Yeah. It really felt fitting because of how many times we've talked about the Switch Pro in the last year, and it's just not going to stop until the damn thing's actually out. But let's move on to some other disappointing news I guess, at least for some folks, I guess. And you can talk to us about this one here, Kyle. This comes to us from Eurogamer. And it's talking about God of War Ragnarok delayed into next year, now confirmed release on PS4? What?
What?
So what's going on with it?
God of War Ragnarok, which was originally announced for the PlayStation 5 release in 2021, has been delayed into next year and will now launch on the PS4. Confirming the news on Twitter, developer Sony Santa Monica Studio explained it had made the decision to push God of War Ragnarok's release back into 2022 in order to maintain the safety and well-being of its team. Since the release of the next God of War teaser last year, the full statement reads, "We've been humbled by the amount of love our community has shown us. We're incredibly grateful to see so many people excited to experience the next chapter of Kratos and Atreus' journey. We remain focused on delivering a top quality game while maintaining the safety and well-being of our team, creative partners, and families." The developer continued, "With this in mind, we've made the decision to shift our release window to 2022. In addition to God of War Ragnarok's release date, Sony has confirmed that the game will be a cross-gen title, as will eagerly awaited PS5 racing sim Gran Turismo 7, and will be making its way to the PlayStation 4 alongside the previously announced PS5 version." Herman Holst, head of PlayStation Studio, shared the news as part of the interview on the PlayStation blog, where it makes sense to develop a title for both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. For Horizon Forbidden West, the next God of War, GT7, will continue looking at that, he explained. And if a PS4 owner wants to play the game, then they can. If they want to go on and play the PS5 version, that game will be there for them. God of War Ragnarok is the second of Sony's big first-party 2021 releases pushed back into next year. A delay for Gran Turismo 7 blamed on COVID-related production challenges was announced in February. According to Holst, it's currently unclear if Horizon Forbidden West will meet a similar fate. For Horizon, he revealed, "We think we are on track to release this holiday season, but that isn't quite certain yet, and we're working as hard as we can to confirm that to you as we can."
I mean, it's for
So,
for a game as ambitious as God of War. I mean, even in the scope of what the series has been so far, and now, of course, kind of the reboot of the series. It's not a surprise to see it get delayed, to be honest.
yeah, I don't think so. Especially, yeah, looking at the how they revamped the game. I know you haven't had a chance to play it, and I've only dipped my toes into it, but it's tremendous in comparison to the first uh I don't know, entries into the series that were like the full entries, and then even the side ones, they had not quite full length stories, but they were pretty long too.
Yeah, I remember like we talked a lot about it with Preston and Dan, of course, because I know they
Hmm.
both played through that game. Um, I think even talked to Brandon a little bit about it too. But yeah, I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
for something as ambitious as that, and of course the original emphasis being it like being on a PlayStation 5 exclusive, it's good to see that they're going to take the time to work on it because I think in my mind there's still a lot of people who are kind of salty about the way things turned out with Cyberpunk 2077 that they don't want to see a repeat of the same mistake from a different studio. Like everybody should learn off of each other. So the fact that it's being delayed is not necessarily a bad thing, but I know a lot of people were pissed off about the PlayStation 4 side of it. Uh, I mean, do you got any words on that one? I mean, what do you think on what do you think about that?
I'm excited that it's going to be on the PlayStation 4. I wonder what kind of limitations it'll have in comparison to the PlayStation 5 version, and like, what kind of hard drive space it'll take up to try and make up for some of those limitations. Um I don't know. Yeah, we talked about it in the Open Critic news, um that it that they're trying to support those PlayStation 4 users. They have 110 million users, um, and they don't want to just let them go. Which it's really funny because it's totally contradictory to what they were saying, 6 months ago about how they're moving into a new generation and it's all going to change and they're only going to support the previous console for like a year. And here, just what, last month they were or I guess 2 months ago, shutting down
Yep.
consoles and ended up having to put two of them back online because
Yeah.
that was a big whoopsie doodle. But
Yeah, that no, absolutely right cuz they can't get PlayStation 5s made fast enough. The semiconductor shortage, the scalpers, it's all causing problems on things. And if you're going to release this game as a game for the PlayStation 5, then it needs to be when you have more PlayStation 5s in the hands of those who want them, and not just those looking to make a quick dollar. It's going to need to be that, and I don't think it's going to necessarily suffer in the grand scheme of it go like of like what the game is because the previous game on PlayStation 4 and being put on the PlayStation 4 Pro being the top tier console for that line. I would say that game still came out looking really good and I would expect the same for this one as well, but I guess it's going to depend on what's going on underneath the hood that the previous generation of consoles can actually support, kind of what you were talking about. Can it actually handle, can the PlayStation 4 and 4 Pro actually handle what Ragnarok is throwing around? Or is this kind of going back to the drawing board to see what can be tweaked it down to allow for a PlayStation 4 release?
right, and in all honesty, I personally think they'll sell more units in the long run. Um, just based on the fact that you think about the fact that there are people that can't get the console,
Mm-hmm.
um and they'll play it on PS4, but then they'll want to go and play live as well. And yeah, they might have an upgrade for it, but they might not, you know
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and who knows, maybe they'll have exclusive content on the PlayStation 5, or stuff that, what if it turns out to be like Dragon Age Inquisition, where you know you played it on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, and it was a completely different game because it was the the levels were just more populated. They had a larger draw distance. There were so many
Mm-hmm.
things that just added to the game that needed to be there, frankly. But
Yeah. One of those examples I think we can look at is the Unreal Engine, was it Unreal Engine 5 demo that Epic Games put out using the PlayStation 5 to show off the particle effects and the lighting effects that were built into the new engine. You
mhm,
know, you think about it's like, okay, God of War could really be using stuff like that. And while that would be a great thing to see, obviously they're going to have to pull it for the PlayStation 4 release because the PS4 is not powerful enough to handle that type of rendering and light sourcing. It's just not going to be able to do it. So I think, yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to be one of those things where the game, you're going to play it on PlayStation 4 and probably enjoy it. But when you get it on PlayStation 5, you're actually going to have the true experience that they were aiming for since day one.
yeah, and like I said, I think it'll cause them to sell more units. Even if they do offer the free upgrade, there will be people that have had it and they'll buy it again. They might buy it digitally. Say they buy
Mm-hmm.
the all digital PlayStation 5 and they want to go all digital the next generation. You know,
That too. Yeah, especially
that's
for
a
those.
possibility.
Yeah, we've gone back and forth on the all digital stuff. I think we actually might have to make that as a part of our topic discussion for the next podcast because I think that's going to be a good one to really focus on for us in that one. Um,
Mhm.
but it's going to be interesting to just see what happens with the rest of the games that were in that list too, because there was also Gran Turismo 7 and Horizon Forbidden West, which I know that's the story coming up here next, but it's just interesting to see that that's what they have to do because obviously you got to keep your player base happy, otherwise they're gonna go to a different console or be like us and gaming PCs, because then the
Right.
world opens up so much more on the gaming PC side. It
Hmm.
really does. So anyway, let's use that segue then to talk about Horizon Forbidden West then. So we got this story here from Games Radar. Horizon Forbidden West PS4 was a major part of development, but PS5 will have extra details. Kind of what you were just alluding to there with God of War Ragnarok.
Whoa.
Horizon Forbidden West devs recently revealed more about the development progress across console generations. Horizon Forbidden West PS4 will look fantastic, just expect graphical improvements in the PS5 version. Much of the Horizon Forbidden West development and playtesting has been on PS4, but there will be a noticeable visual difference on PS5 according to a recent Game Informer interview with the devs. Horizon Forbidden West game director Mathis de Jong and narrative director Benjamin McCaw sat down with Game Informer to discuss Aloy's new abilities in Guerrilla Games' development process. A lot of the development has taken place on the PS4, and a lot of playtesting is also done on PS4, De Jong says. So we are ensuring that owners of that console have a great experience and that the game will look fantastic on that console. Naturally, however, the PlayStation 5 and its powerful graphics card will have the upper hand. For the PlayStation 5, we can go much further, of course, visually. We can add a lot more detail graphically. The rendering technique for the underwater scenes is special on the PlayStation 5. It has the extra details and extra systems. The wave technique is better on that system as well, De Jong explains. The lighting on Aloy on the PlayStation 5 has much more definition. We use a special cinematic lighting rig that on the PlayStation 4 is only used in cutscenes. We have more processing power in those scenes. But for the PlayStation 5, we have plenty of processing power so we can have that lighting rig always available. The rest of the interview goes into great detail about Aloy's new abilities, including Valor Surges, which grant her powerful abilities as seen in the latest PlayStation State of Play. There are multiple types of Valor Surges that can be unlocked based on the skill tree and playstyle of your playthrough. Horizon Forbidden West completely redesigns Aloy's skill tree as well to support many different playstyles according to De Jong. So we have got Horizon Forbidden West that's also doing the same thing, but as it said in the article, though, is that the emphasis really has been development on the PlayStation 4. So it's exactly as
Yeah.
you said for Ragnarok, is that the game will be there, but it's going to have a lot more of that visual enhancement over on the PlayStation 5. And it's just like the devs said here, is that the lighting rig they had mutually exclusive for cutscenes is now something they can use all the way through, which is just fantastic to hear that the cutscenes are rendered in engine, but the lighting itself is completely different between the two sets of rendering setups, whether it is the cutscene or whether it is in actual gameplay. So that is impressive. The other part, though, that they talk about in here was the water as well. The where they, I'm just trying to find the mention here too about the water. Yeah, graphically, the rendering technique for the underwater scenes is special on the PlayStation 5. Because did you actually watch the Forbidden West, like 15-minute state of play?
I'll be honest, I didn't.
That game looks
I'm
really
really
good.
excited about the game, but just because I want to keep that excitement kind of going, I don't want to like watch too much stuff and then just burn myself on it out on it before it comes out.
Yeah, I think that's something that my kid also does too. That they just won't sit back and watch any of the trailers or anything. They really just want to be amped up about what's happening.
Yeah.
I think it's worth it because you think a lot of these videos that they show off of gameplay anyway usually aren't. Sometimes they aren't things that are in the game, but I'll leave that up to you on what you want to look at there.
Well,
But I thought it
I've
looked
seen some of the
fantastic.
stuff. I want to leave some sense of mystery about the game, so I don't know. I'm really excited about it.
Hmm.
I've even thought about repurchasing it on PC. And they just recently gave it away,
They
again,
did.
on PlayStation Plus.
They did.
So
Yep.
no, it wasn't even PlayStation Plus. I think that was their stay-at-home initiative actually that they gave it away, and it's the complete edition. So I get to
Trying to
play all the
remember.
content that I never played.
Right. I'm just trying
Um,
to remember on that one now too, because I think you're right. But again, I think they gave it away, but it was still specifically on PlayStation 4. There was nothing that was released. I mean, they released the game on PC, but they never did a release. Here's a free copy of it on PC. That's all.
no, not on PC. It was specifically on PlayStation. And I want to say it was just at the end of March, beginning of April, I believe, and it was, I believe, part of their stay-at-home initiative.
Okay. Okay.
That was like the tail end of it, or at least their latest run of games.
Okay.
So
Well, if you want to
yeah.
ruin your sense of mystery and go all like awestruck at the actual graphical prowess of that game, I think there actually is a version on YouTube where you can watch it in 1440p. So if you can do that and
Ooh.
maximize it up to your full screen, you will probably be in for a treat. So
I'm just excited about the like ocean parts and getting to fight sea creatures and stuff. That'll be a whole different ball game.
agreed,
So
agreed.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not just fighting dinosaur robots in the middle of Colorado now, is it?
Well, and that was hard enough because they learned from you. So
There you go. So with that, of course, I mean that's Horizon Forbidden West. If you guys haven't seen the actual gameplay video yet, just go and just go look it up on YouTube. Just look for the state of play. It's about 15 minutes of gameplay that they showed off, a couple of cutscenes there, but didn't really delve into exactly what was going on potentially story wise. However, I gotta say it looks really good. I'm
and
very truly impressed, and I'm expecting it to still look pretty good on PS4 as well.
yeah, and exactly that. Going into it, you know that when you watch the video, if you can't get a PS5, you can still play it on PS4. That's the best part.
Yep. Or of course, if they had put more emphasis on PlayStation Now, then they could have their own little Game Pass equivalent that allows you to do it that way too.
Right? And then PC players could enjoy as well, and they could make money off of PC players more.
There's also that too. In the meantime, in regards to making money off of PC players, we actually have a PC story to talk about tonight. And no, it's not about the NVIDIA RTX 3080 Ti and all the people who got trampled going to Micro Center there on the East Coast. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look up the video on Kotaku. But this story does come from Kotaku, and Kyle's going to talk to us about it. AMD's answer to NVIDIA DLSS works on all GPUs. What is AMD working on there, Kyle?
NVIDIA's DLSS isn't foolproof, but when it works, the performance benefits of AI powered upscaling can be astonishing. It's why fans have been pushing AMD for almost a full year to come up with an AI powered solution of their own, and today AMD finally announced it. Even better, it'll work on any GPU hardware. Team or termed Fidelity FX Super Resolution FSR, the technology is basically AMD's response to NVIDIA's deep learning super sampling DLSS. But as consumers saw when DLSS was first unveiled, AMD's technology won't be broadly implemented to begin with. Only 10 games and game engines will support AMD's FSR this year, although AMD's hope is that their open source approach will lead to a faster adoption in long term. And AMD might be right, especially since AMD's FSR doesn't just work on AMD hardware. It supports NVIDIA cards too. In an embargo briefing, AMD showed a performance slide from Godfall where it claimed a GeForce GTX 1060, the most popular GPU according to the latest Steam hardware surveys, went from 27 FPS to 38 FPS while running at 1440p on Epic settings. It's a bit of a weird test, and AMD's footnotes added that the weirdest testing machine was a Ryzen 5950X CPU running the October 2020 Windows 10 update, but not the May 2020 update, which AMD used for another benchmark slide comparing FSR's performance in different modes. You wouldn't play the game like Godfall, at least not 60 FPS, anyways, even on console, given its nature. Journalists asked during the briefing whether FSR had any resolution restrictions as NVIDIA's DLSS technology did in its initial implementation. AMD said that they would provide more detail on June 22nd or June 23rd Australia time, which is when FSR is due to launch. That's also when we'll get a full list of games and engines that support FSR out of the gate. Or if Godfall is any indication, there's a lot to look forward to. The very good 6800 XT under AMD's testing only runs at 49 FPS in Godfall when ray tracing and all settings are maxed out. But with FSR enabled, the frame rate jumps up to 78 FPS at the lowest upscaling settings quality and 150 FPS at best when performance is enabled. AMD was pressed on rendering resolution for each of the settings. NVIDIA's DLSS generally can render up to 4 times the initial or internal resolution, so a 4K game running in performance mode would be using AI to upscale the image from 1080p. Some titles like Cyberpunk 2077 have an ultra performance mode available, which upscales the image by a factor of 8 times. It's not really worth it, though. You're better off playing at 4K due to the loss of image quality and the hit to frame rate. AMD, however, added that more detail would be announced on June 22nd.
Good.
So, yeah, I mean, they just basically go on to ramble about how it'll be interesting to see how it'll affect the Unreal Engine plugin, but I mean, there's a whole bunch of different ways that this will be interesting to see. Like I have a feeling the new thing will be side by sides of which one does it better.
DLSS versus FSR.
FSR. Yep.
I think so. I need to state this right now because there's other like tech blogs that I read that are specific to PC components, and I think it was WCCF Tech is who talked about this. They actually pressed AMD on the fact that Godfall was tested using a GTX 1060 and using FSR. One of the things that AMD made mention of, and I could bring the article up here if I have to, but one thing they made mention of is that this is kind of more of an edge case thing in supporting the NVIDIA side of things. They're really leaving
Mhm.
it more in NVIDIA's ballpark to actually increase their support. So it's more like this is something we are capable of, but it's not something we're emphasizing. It's like we want NVIDIA to be more of the ones to own their own DLSS tech and open up more support for it, which, you know, it seems like what AMD is doing. I really got to look at this though, but from what that said about AMD is that AMD is trying to open source the stuff so that way it can be implemented faster and used much faster. So that way,
So what, the
more
healthy
games and things can be
competition
signed out. Yeah,
approach?
effectively, effectively. But I think you're right though, is we're going to have to wait until we actually see some side by side stuff, because numbers on a slide are one thing, but actual tangible evidence of it working is going to be another, or is going to be the key thing for anybody. And then also, of course, what the actual hit is to performance in general using that too, you know.
Well, and I'd love to see them start trying to compete against one another on um putting out the actual ability to do it on this game or that game, and coming up, with FSR and DLSS on some games together, so
Mm-hmm.
you can choose one or the other if you've got that NVIDIA card.
Right. That would be neat to actually have that as a toggle to be able to choose, you know, kind
Yeah.
of between the two. As long, now this is the caveat though, as long as you don't need to run um, AMD's driver software at the same time as running GeForce Now, or not
Ooh,
GeForce
that
Now,
would just
GeForce.
bog down your
Yeah,
system, yeah.
yeah. Don't run both. Have it as like a utility or something that downloads that can work in tandem if that's, you know, something possible. But one of the interesting things I'm thinking about though now, where this opens up even more, is that the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series S and X run on AMD SoCs, so processor
Mhm.
and GPU all in one. What's the possibility that we could actually see FSR make its way to consoles?
Uh, that's a
Can you
crazy
imagine?
thought.
Can you imagine, like, especially the Series S? Imagine the Series S is the first one to get this FSR technology, and it's like,
Hmm.
okay, well, the output for games is only 1440p. Now I can do output to 4K using FSR.
Right.
No necessary like crazy upscaling required, because you know it will handle everything it needs to do to actually do the 4K output just fine, and you'll have great quality in the game without having to go buy a Series X. You know, I mean,
Mhm.
1440p doesn't look bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying though, for those people who don't want to spend all the money, now here's something to help open it up, and maybe it'd be the same way on the Series X, that it helps to improve thermals, improve performance, improve the ability to actually go up to maybe 4K 120 frames per second. You know,
Right,
I don't
because
know. I got a wish
I think
list.
the Xbox has one game that can really push the limit like that, and that's Ori, and it's either the Ori and the Blind Forest, or it might actually be the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Don't know.
yeah.
But we got a couple weeks to wait on at least what's going to be happening here. Who do you think, though, rumor wise, though? I mean, because they're talking about 10 developers that are on right now, at least that are on board with using this. And how many other games did they say in there? Was it 10 games and that was it? Trying to find the actual quote here in the
Is it
article
came?
again.
Was it 10 games and developers?
It says 10, only 10 games and game engines will support FSR this year. And the slide I
So
have
that
here as
might
the
be
thumbnail,
collectively.
yeah, it just says 10 game engines and games in 2021 will support it. So, um, I
Well, we
guess
know
yeah,
one's got to
collectively,
be Unreal.
I think Unreal. Um, it would be nice to see. I mean, it'd be nice to see Vulkan and DirectX included in that as well. I mean, I know they're not game engines necessarily, but with the like, I mean, we've seen how
Uh,
like Doom Eternal and Doom 2016 look when you switch between DirectX and Vulkan drivers. It would be neat to see that type of incorporation as well. But then I wonder maybe
See
Frostbite might be
them.
included.
Yeah, I was about to say what's the newest version of Frostbite, because that's what EA uses, right?
Yeah,
I
that's
could
what.
see them targeting specific big
Mhm.
developers like that. That's one of the reasons I said, Unreal. you know, that pigeonholes a lot of people because a lot of people develop Unreal.
Well, because it's free is the big part of it.
Yeah.
Frostbite you can't get access to. Um, but yeah, I think Frostbite would be a good one, especially because Battlefield 6 is just down the line too. So that would be a
Right.
good one to showcase right off the bat that says, hey, on launch day, you're going to have FSR support.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
man,
be
that'd be
really
a big
big.
one.
It would be. Um, Man, I'm just glad that AMD is finally figuring it out because I got to say, I see the stuff about DLSS and I'm envious of it because my RX 5700 XT obviously doesn't have anything similar to that. And, with the current ability or lack thereof of graphics cards right now to get, I'm kind of stuck with
Hmm.
this. And so I do envy you, especially having that DLSS tech. I could care less about the ray tracing, but the DLSS would be awesome. So
Right.
I'll sit here and cry as I watch my little um, furnace of a graphics card, chug along. So, but that's okay because we're going to move on to the next story, folks. Actually, hold on. We do have a comment from Alex here. Do developers think it's a lot of trouble to develop for? Well, we don't know because it all depends. I think necessarily when it comes like DLSS, I think it depends on the support they get from NVIDIA when doing it. I'm sure they can go to NVIDIA and say, hey, we want to do this. But I think it's probably the other way around that NVIDIA is going to the game devs and saying, hey, this is our new tech. Let us help you get it integrated in with your game.
Yeah, make it like an engine plug-in type thing.
Yeah, instead of it being the game devs wanting to do something like that, I think a lot of this is more so the inverse, and it's going to depend, of course, on what the actual SDK looks like and what the API with the integration, all of that's going to look like. That's going to lead to how the developers feel, and I think that's why I made the mention on the Xbox and PlayStation side, is because those run AMD SoCs that
Hmm.
it getting over there will open up the adoption rate probably a lot. I mean, especially if
Oh yeah.
Microsoft makes that a native thing or like a native requirement for every Xbox game potentially going forward. And for PlayStation, I guess depending on how they want to handle it, doing the same thing. So I guess it just depends on the developer on what they want to do. But I think a lot of the emphasis and a lot of the push is from the hardware manufacturers more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm just a dude who sits in his basement reading the news to you. Anyway, let's move on here to another story. And I guess this might be a sad one. I guess it's going to depend on who you are with this. But this story comes to us from Polygon. EA delists Need for Speed games from digital stores with little warning. Publisher delists 5 NFS titles ahead of server shutdowns. Publisher Electronic Arts delisted 5 older Need for Speed games on Monday, citing the game's impending retirement of online services. EA offered little warning about the Need for Speed games delisting, angering fans of the venerable racing series. The 5 delisted titles are Need for Speed Carbon, Need for Speed Undercover, Need for Speed Shift, Need for Speed Shift 2 Unleashed, and Need for Speed The Run. In a statement posted to Reddit on Monday, a representative for EA said the number of players has come to a point where it's no longer feasible to continue the work behind the scenes required to keep the games up and running. Carbon, Undercover, Shift, Shift 2, Unleashed, and The Run will all go offline on August 31st, 2021, EA said. From September 1st, you can still play the games and use the respective offline features for these titles. The removal affects Sony's PlayStation Store, Microsoft Xbox Game Store, Steam, and EA's Origin, although some of the Need for Speed games are still available for a sale through Steam at a discount. EA said it is now shifting gears to focus on the future of Need for Speed. The next game of the franchise is expected sometime in 2022. Need for Speed developer Criterion is currently assisting DICE on the next Battlefield game and plans to return to the racing franchise next year. So, let's see, it's that one. I mean, God, these games are like the youngest game on here is 10 years old. That doesn't really shock me.
Right. I mean, they have a
It's a given.
few newer ones out, and they have the
That's a given.
remastered
Mm-hmm.
Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. I mean, it's about time that these ones got finally delisted. I mean, I think the only one that's a real bad hit and maybe I'll get flack for saying this, but would be Need for Speed Carbon.
Why is that?
It that was one of the last ones that I actually enjoyed out of that set, I would say.
Oh, that's right. I mean, we talked about something with Need for Speed at one point in time in one of the podcasts, and
Mhm.
I think it was when games started to go downhill, and I think that was the last good game for that series was Carbon. At least until they just did the recent Hot Pursuit re-release.
Yeah, because I loved Hot Pursuit, and Hot Pursuit kind of, I want to say it was kind of in there, but it got shut down a long time ago.
Oh yeah,
I
it
want to
did.
say, yeah, it was in between Carbon and Undercover.
I don't. I you
So
couldn't remember. Honestly, I couldn't tell you. Um, it's not a
yeah, like I said,
surprise.
I don't remember all that well. So
Yeah, and it's really not a surprise. But if there is a dedicated player base who really likes playing that stuff, there is a whole community out there that will actually run through and capture the packets to and from the server and work to actually recreate the netcode to be able to make custom servers. So that way, if
oh
you still
yeah,
wanted to play games online, there is a whole dedicated team of people out there who like looking at that stuff and like being able to reverse engineer the server side functionality. I mean, that's how a lot of different things have been able to stay online. I mean, I think that was how God, there was a game that had also retired that did the same thing. I think in my head, I think it was. I know this is funny to say because I almost think I'm right, but I think that's how they ended up leading to World of Warcraft Classic. Is that the original World of Warcraft? I think was done that way. Is that there was a community run server system that actually handled using the old netcode from the original World of Warcraft to be able to basically do vanilla.
well that's how they did Fantasy Star Online Blue Shift for like 15 years because two didn't come to the US until what, just like last year or year before last or something like that.
That it was a big thing when it came out. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Yeah. So, I mean, for those games to be shut down, I think for the age of them, that's not necessarily a surprise because player base is dwindling. I mean, Forza Horizon is still big. Um, whatever entry and Need for Speed is still going on right now as well too is
And really
probably
and
still got a good
truly,
player base.
I feel like if you're playing those ones anyway, you're playing it for the story. You're not really playing those ones for the online modes. And
Yeah.
maybe I could be wrong, but that
Eh,
I feel like that's why you would be playing those
I
ones.
think a lot of
Maybe
people
not so
have
much Shift and Shift 2. Shift and Shift
right.
2 I feel like we're more on the competitive side, but Run, Carbon and Undercover were more story based.
Right. I think that's definitely the case because Forza's got a really good mix of online and offline functionality. And
Mhm.
I don't think we're going to be seeing anything change there for quite some time, especially because of the renewed interest with the optimized for Series X and S in it. And
Right.
it's a good one you can get into. Plus, I think it's actually available through game streaming as well. So there's a lot of places to play racing type games, but these ones, like with the oldest, their Carbon 2006, you're now talking a 16-year-old, 15-year-old game now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that deserves, I think, to finally just be, you know,
It's
shipped off to sea.
remarkable that the servers were even open still. And they're still keeping them open for a couple more months. So get your fill in, get your fix.
Shut down virtual machine, start new virtual machine, keep it chugging along on the minimum needed CPU and memory, and then repeat. That's it.
Right.
That's all it is. Anyway, so wrapping up tonight's live stream, of course, is going to be our final news story here. And of course, it's because E3 is just around the corner here. So, Kyle, talk to us here from about this story here from IGN, talking about the schedule for E3 2021.
The full schedule for E3 2021 has been revealed with fan registration now open ahead of its start date on Saturday, June 12th. A press release from E3 has revealed all the major showcases in the E3 2021 broadcast, which will be hosted by Alex Goldenboy Mendez and Jackie Jing and Greg Miller. After a pre-show at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. UK on June 12th, we'll have the Ubisoft Forward conference at 12 p.m. Pacific, as well as news from Gearbox Entertainment. On Sunday, June 13th, the pre-show starts at 8:45 a.m. Pacific, 11:45 a.m. Eastern, and 4:45 p.m. UK, ahead of Microsoft and Bethesda's joint showcase, which kicks off at 10 a.m. Pacific later in the day. There will also be a special presentation from Square Enix, as well as the PC Gaming Show and the Future Gaming Show. Sunday will also see new information from Warner Brothers Gaming, including Back for Blood, as well as 24 entertainment creators of Naraka Blade Point. On Monday, June 14th, the pre show will start at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, and 4 p.m. UK before a series of indie developers' press conferences. This will be followed by presentations from Take-Two, Mythical Games, Freedom Games, Razer, and Capcom across Monday, with Verizon and Intellivision also part of the schedule. Tuesday, June 15th is the day of the show, with the pre-show starting at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, and 4 p.m. UK. Nintendo will lay its cards on the table during its E3 2021 Nintendo Direct and Nintendo Treehouse Live sessions, which starts at 9 a.m. Pacific, following news from Bandai Namco and Eureka Games. The show will close with official E3 2021 award show. As for what fans will be able to access along the aforementioned showcase, if they sign up to access the E3 online portal, they'll be able to visit the select exhibitors booth with special events, VOD content, and articles to dig into. There will also be lounges for virtual gatherings, forums to discuss and share information with other attendees, and leaderboard system that encourages interaction. The portal will also let attendees view the entire broadcast with complimentary interview or interactive overlays. We've rounded up every event announced so far. Just kind of continuing on with the article that you can check out on IGN, as well as some of the other sites, the full listing of games and other exhibitors that'll be available at the show. Some of them are a little bit off the wall, I've noticed, like Otterbox Gaming will be there. Like they said, Verizon, which
Hold on.
I think
but
that's new.
but hold on. Intellivision.
Yeah, in television.
What the fuck are they gonna show off?
That's a very good question.
I mean, like, what is it that Intellivision's done lately that warrants being like shown off? I mean, like what the
I
hell?
would have to Google that.
That's what I'm looking for. Like, I'm looking here. Like, outside of the console they made back in the 70s and early 80s, it's like what exactly is it that they're going to be here? I mean, like, I'm looking here at their thing. It's like, I mean, the last thing that they really did here, they had the flashback, like the Atari flashback consoles. Like, hold on a minute. Wait, what? Hold on. I just found something. The Intellivision Amico is an upcoming video. Amico, AMICO.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah,
is an upcoming video game console produced by Intellivision. The system was first revealed in October 2018, and pre-orders began in April 2019. Initially said to launch in October 2020, the console was delayed to April 15th, 2021, and again to October 10th, 2021. The system will launch with 6 pack-in titles and over 20 further games.
Apparently comes in 3 variants, with the classic white, your mahogany and gold, and it looks like gunmetal gray and like a Samsung blue gray. And it looks like they're iPods that are the controllers.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't know what's going on
because the
there.
Intellivision was the one that had it looked like an old school TV remote, and then it had the little dial in the center that you actually
Right.
turned. But I'm looking at the games that they have in here, like that are supposed to be in there. Tron Deadly Discs, which was released for the Intellivision back in '82. They've got R-Type,
Ooh,
supposedly
R-Type.
also. They've got Missile Command. They've got Kung Fu Master. They've
Hmm.
got Earthworm Jim 4, supposedly.
What?
Burger Time is going to be on there. Asteroids. Yeah, so Earthworm Jim 4, I thought that was a little crazy, but that's a couple of years out, it looks like. Is the video game that was originally announced later comment? Let's see.
So
Yeah.
it looks like I don't know if you wanted to throw a picture of
Let me see if I can.
the systems. Well,
I'm
I
going.
can.
I'm getting it now. Hang on. I've got it. I got it.
Okay.
I got it. Search for Intellivision
But
Amico. Oh my God! What in the actual f is this thing? What
yeah,
the?
it like I said, and it comes in three colors. There's the classic iPod white, um, the mahogany and gold, or mahogany and bronze. I'm not certain, and then the Samsung like blue, black, and gunmetal color that they use.
Oh my God! So is this expected to be played in a wireless setup? You know, kind of like um the Nintendo Wii U, like with the tablet mode, you know, where everything's actually there? Or is that just a really funky looking charging dock with?
I think that's the charging dock and what'll be
I'm
the base console. Because of the way it looks, I'm assuming that's a power button on the front, and it'll probably be a wireless system that you access initially to start up through the controller to use in correlation with the TV.
I'm gonna date myself here a little bit, Kyle. Um, I know what this reminds me of now. I know what this looks like.
What's that?
It looks like someone hollowed out the center of a Linksys router. And hold on. I'm gonna change this because I don't want to spoil it for anybody yet. Hang on. Switch to that. Let me look this up here really quick, and then I'm gonna ruin your day. I have to bring up a picture of it because if I can find the original picture of it, this is what it looks like, and it's freaking funny because I can't believe this got stuck in my head. I need a good picture of it though. Beautiful. You know what? That works. Open image in new tab. Open that image also in the new tab. Okay. You'll have to check this on stream because this is just funny as hell. But it looks like, again, I'm going to say, it looks like a Linksys wireless router that someone hollowed out with LG chocolate phones as fucking game consoles.
Oh my god.
Tell me I'm wrong, okay? Okay, tell me I'm wrong. Like, I'm going to go back and forth here to the actual picture of this, okay?
An LG chocolate.
It's I remember that being a big thing when I was in high school, is to have that
Yeah.
phone. Yeah. But look at, I mean, like, am I wrong? I mean, isn't that exactly what that fucking looks like?
No, it totally does.
I mean, maybe they bought these shells or something from Linksys or whatever, you know, because like, oh, we're not selling these routers anymore, so here's all the stuff we've got left over now. So you know what? It's like you guys could use that if you want, but that's really what the damn thing looks like. I just was like, okay, so I guess in the grand scheme of what Intellivision's doing, they are bringing us a new console because we've got that and the Atari VCS coming out because it's 2021 and that's what people are asking for.
Yeah, Atari consoles.
Atari versus the
That
television is happening.
as a computer that just runs Linux.
Except this. This looks like this is going to be specifically a game thing. However, I will say
Yeah.
I'm going to look closer at what the specs are for the Atari VCS. Because if that thing ends up being a capable little Linux machine, you know, it might end up being something to get if the price is actually worth it, though. Again, it's going to depend on what's really inside of it, though. Just don't play any of the games.
Yeah, I think more equate to will be more like a Commodore. Like you'll be able to
Mm-hmm.
write games for it, but and you'll be able to do like minor software stuff, but you won't be able to play like your Steam library on it, not unless you're using it to like stream, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, that's very possible. Hmm. Could always make it an
I don't
Ubuntu
know.
PC
It'll
that
be hard
runs
to
a
say.
Steam Link on it.
This is true, but
Yeah.
it'll be hard to say until it comes out because it does have that open source Ubuntu though that you could just write something that runs as a Steam link,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then it wouldn't be an issue. So
No, it really wouldn't. It really wouldn't. But that was a surprise, though. And then the last one I'll make mention of here, because it was kind of confusing that they'd actually have a presentation, is Razer. Razer doesn't make games. Razer, I think, might have some
no,
investments
but
in some of the game things, but it's like, what are they going to show off?
like I said, our OtterBox is going to be there for their gaming accessories. So it makes sense that Razer would be there for gaming accessories as well.
Razer's going to show off their new gaming chair, and maybe they'll show off the actual production release of their see-through ventilated mask that has chroma lighting in it. You know,
I want to see an actual like proof of concept working model of that chair with a screen in it.
I would like to see them work on or show off the modular system that they had originally shown off too. The giant.
Modulus.
This was like maybe 6 or 8 years ago. They showed off a massive PC tower that had these components you could just unslot and slot in. So if you wanted a hard drive, the hard drive was in this module, and you just pop it
I
on,
think I
and the
remember
motherboard
that.
and
That
graphic.
that
Yeah,
was like what wound up being the Tomahawk,
what
which
a
is their like their Nook that they just recently launched or are launching. I think they did
they
launch
already
it,
did
but
launch it. You can buy one, but it's
yeah,
junk.
yeah, but I think that's what they were leading into,
Yeah,
with that. I do remember that.
because it runs a
It
ninth
was a
gen
cool
Intel
concept.
processor. Yeah, it runs an Intel ninth gen mobile processor, like for laptops. And then you could slot like I think it comes with like a 10 series graphics card. I don't even think it comes with a 20 series graphics card, but who knows? I don't really remember. So okay, maybe peripherals. Just it's just one of those things that it's like in television, Razer. What are you guys going to be showing off?
OtterBox Gaming.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
The
I think
God.
I do think part of that is you got to think E3's in recovery mode. They're also having to compete with basically what two other uh game shows right now, or that'll be happening right around the same time with the Summer Games event and the what is it? EA's doing one as well that's totally separate.
Hmm.
So it
Everybody's
was
got to do
either
everything
EA or
separately.
Ubisoft. I think it was EA though. I'm fairly certain it was EA that's doing their own presentation that's their own thing
Okay.
cuz yeah, they have to.
Yeah, I know one of them. I think it's probably EA who was doing it.
Yeah.
But Alex here adds on Facebook chat saying the Intellivision controllers were known for getting worn down quickly and were hardwired into the console, so you couldn't switch them out. That's also very true. But this one on the other hand is LG chocolates wirelessly charging in an old Linksys router
Yeah.
for whatever that means to anybody there. But with that, that's actually it for us in the news this week. The only couple other things that were out there, of course, is that Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming to PS5, and actually moving saves around from PS4 to PS5 is going to be a chore. So go read more on that one,
Yeah,
of
it
course. There was another thing I saw too. Today, we actually had Battlefield 6 gameplay screenshots, like, or someone taking a picture with like their camera from something on a screen, that were actually going around. So you can kind of take a look at it to get an idea of what the HUD looks like in the game now, too. It was showing a couple different things. So it looks like the Osprey is actually going to be a new vehicle that you'll be able to fly around in the game outside of like Apache helicopters and standard like crew helicopters. You'll be able to actually have a Osprey that you can drop troops with, which is pretty cool. But it looks like it's going to maintain, at least based on the screenshots at the HUD, the same kind of like 4-person squad setup as a part of like the larger like conquest big team type battles. So you'll still have 4 people in a group, but you'll still be on a team that might have like 50 people on it. So yeah. So that was in those screenshots. I think it was about 6 of them. And according to the information found out about the screenshots, those pictures were actually taken on a phone and then posted today. So that means that that's more very, very recent information outside of the proof of concept trailer that dropped last week. So go take a look at those screenshots if you guys want. There actually are some pretty neat looking things there, and I'm excited to see Battlefield come back. But in the meantime, of course, it is time for us to end this week's news live stream. So thank you so much for joining us. Of course, if you like what you're listening to right now or watching, don't forget to hit that like button on our Facebook page if you're watching there. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you know when we do go live. Of course, the biggest thing we do on here are 2 different podcasts. We have our podcast that we release every Tuesday for the NPCs. You can go and listen to that. Our most recent one, we talk about Kyle's first experience with the Xbox Series X. Of course, also talk about some things with Mass Effect there too. And we've also had our Open Critic weekly recap news podcast where we're a little bit more scripted on the news. That also dropped today as well. We go into some more details about other things going on in the world of gaming. So please make sure to go give that a listen as well on the podcast platforms of your choice. Again, guys, thanks for sticking around with us in this news live stream. We will catch you all next week.
Bye-bye.